Yes, Geordies, welcome back to another episode. I hope everyone's well. Actually, I know you're all well. It's a Saturday. Who doesn't love a Saturday? Newcastle travel to Brentford tomorrow. I've already posted my preview for that game. So if you haven't watched it, go and check it out because it is a nice little relaxing viewing. But in today's episode, I needed to get this episode out before tomorrow because I've looked at our statistics away from home and at home, and everything I've been speaking about is kind of proven in these statistics. So we're going to break it all down. Do Newcastle United have an away problem? But the first thing I want to talk about is Sven Botman, because the media have been beginning to circulate that contract talks have opened with his representatives. So I thought, why don't I take matters into my own hands and find out if this is true? And as you can see on the screen there, I did message Sven Botman's agent, and I texted him this morning saying, a little bird told me Newcastle have opened talks for Sven Botman over a new contract. Is the little bird right? He texts back saying, listen to the birds. So that tells me that Sven Botman and Newcastle United have opened talks for a new contract. This is music to my ears because even if we do want to sell him in the future, we're going to get maximum value from him. He's only got, 18 months left on his deal? We've got to tie him down to a new contract, even if we are looking to sell him, because you're building more money, you're protecting your asset, even though I don't want to sell him. But this is the right thing to do. Regardless if we want to keep him around or sell him, you need to tie him down to a new contract because that strengthens your position in any negotiation. But I'm actually happy and want him to stay at the football club because I think him and Malik Chow have building this nice little chemistry, this nice little relationship together. We've been defensively excellent this season, so hopefully that continues and he stays injury-free. Now, I don't think he watches these videos. Actually, I know he doesn't watch these videos because he probably forgot who I am. But if his agent is watching this video, and I know he might be watching this video, make sure Sven Botman signs that contract. And speaking about comings and goings at Newcastle United, Aaron Ramsdale is keen to stay at Newcastle United and make the move permanent next season. So I believe Southampton were asking for about £20 million. So I want to know your thoughts on this. I believe this is Nick Pope's last season as a number one. Would you want Aaron Ramsdale as a number one next season? Has, in the little cameos that he has had, has he shown you enough to come in and be number one? Now, we paid $4 million for his loan deal this season. Now, I don't know if that $4 million is going to get taken off the 20. That's something that we might have negotiated when we picked him up on loan, saying we'll pay $4 million now, we'll pay $16 million later. I don't know. That's just me guessing. But let's say it is $16 million at the end of this season. Would you take Aaron Ramsdale as our goalkeeper next season? Please let me know your thoughts in the below about Sven Botman and Aaron Ramsdale. Right, I've got to make this video very quickly because I need to get it out before tomorrow's game because the statistics will change once we play. So I had to get it out today, but I'm actually going out tonight. So I haven't got a lot of time, so it will just be a short video. Judging by me, the way I just blabber on, it might go over. We'll travel to Brentford tomorrow. We've played 10 games in the Premier League this season. We're sitting 13th on 12 points. Now, the majority of those points have come at home because we've won 3 home games this season, but we're yet to win away from home. So I've crunched down some statistics. Now, the first thing I want to do is just have a look at our results in our opening 10 games in the Premier League season. Now, statistically, this has been the poorest start from an Eddie Howe team since 2017-2018 campaign when he was manager at Bournemouth. Now, to the right, you can see all of our results this season. And as you can clearly see, there is no wins away from home and only 2 goals scored. The highest ranked team we've beaten this season was 15th place, and that was Fulham. And we needed a 90th minute winner from Bruno to secure all 3 points. The other 2 victories we've had this season were against Wolves and Nottingham Forest, who are both in the relegation zone. So let's be brutally honest about it, guys. It's probably not our best starts to any season. In fact, statistically, it's Eddie Howe's worst start since 2017-2018 season. So I looked at the numbers offensively and defensively and see much changed at home in comparison away from home, because for us fans, there's a clear difference when we play at home to away from home. So I've broken down and tried to find out why. Is it down to lack of effort or lack of belief? Or is it down to something more structural that is impacting us away from home? So let's just look at our away form in isolation. A 0-0 draw at Villa, a 0-0 draw at Leeds, a 0-0 draw at Bournemouth, a 2-1 defeat at Brighton, and a 3-1 defeat at West Ham. All 3 wins this season have come at St James's Park. You have to go back to last April for Newcastle United's last away victory. Furthermore, Newcastle have only scored 2 goals away from home this season. Furthermore, their XG away from home is less than half than their XG at home. Away from home, I have an XG of 4.0. At home, I have an XG of 8.4. So what we're going to look at today, very briefly, is what the numbers suggest, and if Newcastle United set up differently away from home than they do at home. If any of you guys are regular watchers to my videos, I often speak about being brave out of possession, having a more higher and advanced starting position, being brave in possession, play forwards, look to break lines, take risks in possession, move off the ball to support your teammate, and have a bit of confidence when you've got the ball at your feet. Now, our number 6, where does Sandro Tonali play? He plays as a number 6, doesn't he? There is no way on hell he should be our biggest chance creator, but I bet you believe he is, because the ever-impressive Sandro Tonali ranks top for chances created, creating 8 chances in open play, the most out of any Newcastle United player. The beautiful Italian also ranks top for expected assists per 90 with 1.1. Now, no player in the Newcastle United squad has had more than 1 assist in the Premier League this season. Now, if I'm Anthony Gordon, if I'm Jacob Murphy, if I'm Anthony Elanga, if I'm Nick Valdemara, actually, I'll take that away from Nick Valdemara because he's a striker. He should be the one that's getting supplied. Or if I'm Harvey Barnes, I should be looking at that thinking, there is no way Sandro Tonali should be a higher chance creation than me. I'm not doing good enough. I need to look myself in the mirror and I need to do better. Now, we all know Anthony Gordon has been off the mark this season, but surely he's creating more than 1.1 chances per 90. But obviously he's not. So to have our number 6, who's more of a deep line playmaker and somebody that anchors a midfield and somebody that does a bit of everything, relying on him to create opportunities for us. No wonder we're not scoring goals. Now, let's actually break down the statistics at home and away from home. And as you can see, we have far more impressive numbers at home than we do away from home. We've created 56 chances at home, 43 chances away from home. Created from open play, 46 at home, 41 at home. Big chances created. This is the big one. Created 16 at home and only 3 away from home. XG I've already spoken about. And then obviously we've scored 8 goals at home, 2 away from home. Now, I'm going to be honest, taking Sandro Tonali away, the rest of the squad has been lacking in quality, imagination, risk-taking, and bravery in possession. Sometimes in football, you just need to beat your man to create something, to cause a little bit of havoc. And we haven't been saying that. We've been playing backwards. We've had nobody in advanced positions to really progressively play up the pitch. And it seems like to me we're playing 5 yards deeper than we were last season. I've spoken about this before. I don't actually think it's what we're doing in possession. It's what we're doing out of possession. And I want to look at our chance creation and why we're finding it so difficult to actually create away from home. But if you look at our creation at home as opposed to away from home, as you can see, we're finding it far more difficult to pick out teammates in the box. The top graphic is us at home. What do I always speak about in my videos? Having people in around that central area, getting players inside the box, because that's where you're going to score goals. That's where you're going to do the majority of your work and punish and hurt the opposition. Now, Nick Valdemara has had double the number of attempts inside the box at home, 8-4, which has limited his goal threat away from home. And you can clearly see, if you look at just around that penalty area, the amount of times we're delivering the ball into that area at home in comparison away from home is significantly higher. The statistics are telling you that we don't create much away from home. In fact, the reason why I'm worried about this game against Brentford is because we've conceded the most chances from fast breaks this season with 14. Brentford have scored the most chances from fast breaks this season. Considering we're vulnerable to fast breaks and Brentford are very good on fast breaks, that makes us worry a little bit. Now, I don't think we should continue doing what we're doing away from home because we've drew 0-0 the majority of the time, but eventually those 0-0s will turn into a 1-0 defeat, and we cannot let that happen because we're not the ones that look like we're going to score. Away from home, we've been defensively excellent, but we don't look like we're going to nick a game, and that's what we need to try and do. Now, I've spoke about having people in advanced areas, pressing off the ball, because if you overturn the ball, you've got players to break quickly. Now, what we're doing is sitting in a bank of 4, so we're 5 yards deeper. So when we do overturn the ball, we've got a long way to go before we actually create an opportunity. And that allows the opposition to get into their defensive shape more comfortably and easier. So I thought to myself, look, we've got quality running through our side. When you think about our players, Bruno G, he's got vision, he's technically very good. Sandro Tonali, he's creating multiple chances. Nick Valdemada can create chances. We've got wingers who can create and score. We've got Kieran Trippier who can create as well. So we've got a lot of creators and people that can be dangerous in possession in our squad. It's not for the lack of quality in our squad. I genuinely believe it's because of our defensive shape is different away from home than it is at home. Now, the beauty about making a comparison now, we've played 5 games away from home and 5 games at home. So it gives you more realistic measurement of where your team's at away from home to at home. Now, what's been Newcastle United's blueprint over the past couple of years? It's been ferocious pressing and a team that feeds off high turnovers inside the opposition half. We scored the second most goals last season from high turnovers and the second most goals from high turnovers the season before. So 2 seasons in a row, we ranked in the top 2 for high turnovers to goal ratio. So our pressing instincts were ferocious. Other teams couldn't cope with it. Now, before we get into the pressing statistics and the high turnovers, one thing I will say, we've actually covered more ground away from home than we have at home this season. So it's not for the lack of effort or the lack of trying, because I genuinely believe these guys put in a lot of work. And this is what makes us think that we're not pressing enough away from home. And the statistics show that as well, because even if you look at all the broken down statistics off the ball, the much lower away from home. Possession won in the final third. We've had 24 at home, 16 away. High turnovers, we've had 42 at home, 31 away, and we've scored 1 goal from a high turnover at home. Now, this is a statistic that tells you that we're not intense away from home like we are at home. We've had 1,503 high pressures applied at home and only 1,388 away from home. And we've also had 549 high pressures in the final third at home, but only 403 in the final third away from home. So just think about those high pressures and high turnovers logically. If you're high pressing, you've got players in advanced areas, you've got 3 or 4 bodies in the final third. So even if they do beat your first line of press and you react and win the second ball in that second line of press, once you overturn the ball, you've got players in advanced positions that you can hit. And if you do it quick enough, the opposition are not in their position and there's gaps that we can exploit. Now, we're doing that at home, and that's why we're looking more dangerous. But away from home, we're not doing that at all. Now, another thing, what do we always say as football fans? Newcastle United struggle to control games. We're not a passing unit. We can't pass teams to death. We don't have the technical ability. We don't have the patterns of play. We're not very good at opening up defensive shapes when we've got the ball. Now, if you look at our away games this season, every team that we played away from home is conceded possession, allowed us to have possession. Now, we don't do well when we have possession. We do better when the opposition have possession and we're pressing aggressively and overturn the ball because the game's broken. The opposition are in their offensive shape, not their defensive shape, and we can capitalize. So when we're given the possession, we really struggle. We don't have controllers or dictators or orchestrators in our team. Now, if you compare the possession away from home to at home, we've actually averaged more possession this season away from home with 55.51 as opposed to at home with 47.11. So that does not suit our aggressive style. So I think when teams are coming up against Newcastle United, they're saying, we'll allow you to have possession because you've got Sandro Tonali, can orchestrate, he can dictate, but he's probably the only one. Joe Linton can't do it. Joe Linton doesn't have that football IQ to do that. Neither do any of our wingers. So we struggle when we're told to keep possession. And I think that is one of the main things why we're struggling away from home. It's nothing to do with in possession, because I think the intent is there. We want to create, we want to win games. But because we're sitting so far deep and having possession, we're struggling to break through the lines. And I've made videos about this. Our defensive shape is impacting our offensive ability. And the statistics again show that. And so do some of the images that I put on the screen here, because at home, Newcastle make a habit of closing down opponents man for man, which means when one player's pressing, all of them press. Look at that game against Arsenal. We're going into a man-to-man press at home. Now, when we're away from home, we see less tenacity from Newcastle United, and instead Newcastle tend to settle into a flatter, more zonal 5-man midfield, and this tends to happen around the midfield, so it tends to be a mid-block. Now, the problem when Newcastle United do this is we leave too many gaps. We always play on the same line. I've consistently said that, and that diagram shows it. What happened against Brighton away? Ruta found a pocket of space, he received the ball on the half turn, and then he's driving towards our defenders, and that's where Danny Welbeck scored. What happened against West Ham away? Pateka or was it Bourne? One of them got in between the lines, received the ball on the half turn. So their position was behind our midfield, but in front of our defence. And then once you're in that corridor of uncertainty, it's so difficult to defend against. And even against Bournemouth, this was happening, but Bournemouth didn't capitalise on it, whereas Brighton and West Ham did. So because we're applying no pressure on the ball away from home, we're kind of seeing the opposition come and break us down. Now, we're not tracking with runners either because we're allowing people to get on the blind side of it, which allows them to be free in space. Once they're free in space and they're driving towards your centre-backs, they've got a decision to make. What do I always speak about? Making the centre-backs jump. I want us to do that, the opposition, but the opposition are doing it to us because now, if you've got Jorginho Ruta running towards you, Sven Botman and Malik Chow, they've got to make a split-second decision whether they jump. If both of them jump, they've left Danny Welbeck by himself, which is exactly what happened. Or if one of them jumps, they've created one-on-ones all over the pitch. So because we're not pressing aggressively, the opposition are finding it so easy to break through the lines because we're not tracking with runners as well. And the funny thing is, before I even looked at the statistics, I said this in my match reaction to West Ham, but I also said it in my preview in build-up to the Brentford game. We cannot let the opposition play between the lines. We've got to press away from home because that's our identity. It impacts our offensive performance when we don't press. I'm not saying press all the time and run around like headless chickens. That's not what I'm saying. But there's moments where the opposition have the ball in their final third. We can press. If they beat the first line of press, that's when we're getting our defensive shape. And that first initial stage where the ball is overturned, that's where you've got to be aggressive. That's what we're doing at home, and we're picking up results at home. The general play has not been great. Admit that. At home, we've not been great at all, and I'll be the first one to say we haven't been convincing. But the reason why we're picking up wins and scoring goals at home is because of what we're doing off the ball rather than what we're doing in possession. Now, thinking about that game against Bournemouth, we had an XG of 0.14 because we were so lackluster and sitting in our zonal defensive shape that when we did win the ball, it was always sideways, backwards. People were getting on Lewis Miley's back for not playing forwards, but you can't play forwards when you've got no options in advanced areas. I said this in my match reaction to the Bournemouth game. Don't blame Lewis Miley. Blame the team as a collective. So let's just start playing with intensity away from home. We might lose the odd game, but we're definitely going to pick up more points than we lose. Then it's just going to remain the same. So what I want to see against Brentford, I want to see that intensity. I want to see that aggression. I want to see us being brave in and out of possession. But I want to also hear from you guys. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let me know your thoughts in the below. I think it's a collective of everything, but we need to be better off the ball than we are away from home, in my opinion. But don't forget, I will be putting out a match reaction straight after the game tomorrow. So if you haven't done already, make sure you subscribe. And I hope you have a wonderful night. Enjoy the game tomorrow. Away the lads.